Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and this is Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. Now in this case, the game is very, very good. We're discussing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The developers sent me a code to review the game a full month before launch, so I've been playing it a bunch, but these are just some early impressions, some talks about what I've been doing, like roaming the countryside, getting into drunken bar brawls, and honestly dying a lot. But there won't be any spoilers, there won't be big reveals and stuff like that. Let's just talk about what makes this game so incredibly unique, and, well, if this game might not be for you. Let's get into it. Hi. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So let's start this off with an important caveat, which is the fact that Kingdom Come, this is not a game if you're looking for like a silly, whimsical adventure. The kind of game where it's an adventure with swords, sauntering. This isn't really that kind of game. It's the sort of thing that is about savagery, about brutality, about mastery. It's entertaining and it's satisfying, but I don't know if I would call this game fun because I don't think it's trying to achieve fun. What this essentially is a hyper-accurate medieval simulator. It's the kind of game that has insane graphics and some insane immersive depth, but every part of this takes practice. It takes focus. You could easily spend hours mastering a single task. Like at one point, I went and picked flowers and I went to an apothecary. I had to physically open a book, actually look at recipes, grind up those flowers and put them in a pot and properly boil it and manually time it. Stuff like that takes an insane amount of focus. Even fights, the random duels and stuff, being able to properly deflect blows, timing your stamina, just a single fight with a bandit takes a lot of practice. But that's what's so good about it. I have to say, what sucked me in most in this first 6 hours of Kingdom Come, though, is the characters themselves. We're playing as this guy called Henry. He's a blacksmith's son in the year of 1403. Not long ago, his family got killed. His village was completely burned to the ground, and his father's sword, the final thing he crafted specifically for you, it got stolen. So Henry, not knowing what else to do, decides to sign up to the local army to get his revenge and hopefully find and kill the man who took his sword so he can get it back, and maybe his family can rest in peace. Now, playing as Henry, it's so interesting being a guy who is so equipped, so adaptive, and yet very much just a normal dude. As the game begins, Henry is the official bodyguard of this noble guy called Sir Hans Koppon, and you're on a mission to deliver a message to a nearby land and hopefully stop an upcoming war. But of course, this is a video game, so things go bad, and you end up naked, lost, and badly beaten. So now your goal is to try and find a way to still deliver that message to the local leaders, but, they're not going to know who you are. You're essentially nameless and alone. So trying to figure things out, starting from scratch, it's very, very difficult. Now, in the first 6 hours, that's all I've experienced of the main story so far, but already I can tell this game is huge, and it's beautiful. Every part of this, from shimmering legs to creeping around to fire reflections and stuff, the graphics are nutty. But let's start off by talking about that size, because even in the first 6 hours, I only have the opening zone, but I have been doing side quests, I've been walking in random directions, and while doing that, I died constantly. I died so much in this game. I mean, wait, let's just say it like this. You can't play Kingdom Come casually. You can't play this game while listening to a podcast. You can't just tinker around to get some random experience points or gold. This is not, in my opinion, this is a high-stress game. Deliverance 2 is trying to be a game that takes focus, it takes your attention because it's so entertaining and every mistake is incredibly punishing. Just in these early hours, I've been walking in random directions, and at one point I got butchered by bandits. I walked into the woods to try and find some different materials and stuff. I ended up getting eaten by a pack of wild dogs. At one point, I was just trying to explore and uncover more of the map. I fell off a cliff, and every time you die, it hurts because the save points are very, very far apart. In order to save, you either have to craft a save potion, you can't just save constantly, or whenever you complete a major task, like doing main quests, you get an auto save. Basically, you gotta be careful, you gotta be vigilant, you gotta be aware at all times, or you're gonna be redoing stuff. But I actually think that's kind of the appeal of it. Now, you'll notice I haven't been talking much about combat because honestly, there hasn't been much yet. I would say 95% of this game is conversations and crafting. It's staring at menus to try and figure out the proper layers to your armor, or, looking at different talent points and stuff like that. This is the kind of game that's like Batman style. It is about the preparation. It's about being ready for the encounter 10 hours before the encounter happens, right? But when a fight does break out, they always feel like an event. Every single skirmish that I've been in feels intense and honestly kind of terrifying, because one bad parry, one heavy swing, one that misses its target, a lot of times it means your death, or, sometimes if you die, it means you're going to have to redo like 30 minutes of stuff. So every time you get in any random fight, you have to be incredibly careful. Now, there are a variety of weapons, stuff that you can put talent points into, so you're better at having, high strength builds and heavy armor or heavy weapons. But what's cool about this is that the way you fight feels very skill-based. Like, this is one of those games where you can be good at it in a way that doesn't just take practice. Like, it actually feels like when you get good at it, you feel like a knight. You manually aim your attacks. The way this works is that by tilting your stick as you swing your sword, you actually pick the direction that you're trying to strike. So you have to hit people where they're not defending, and vice versa. When people are trying to hit you, you need to hold parry in a direction so you can knock their blows out of the way, or sometimes even do a riposte, a counterattack. You can instant kill people sometimes, but there's also a stamina system. Learning that kind of flow of combat and sort of feeling how things are supposed to be going. The pacing of it is very, very unique, and you kind of die a lot in order to get the hang of it, but that to me made it even more satisfying when I did beat people. When I actually won a completely fair fight, it was electric. Like, the difficult aspect of it is that every time you mess up, like the thing I had the most trouble with is that as your stamina drains, you can't fight back. So as you get out of breath, you can't duck, you can't dodge, you can't parry, you can't hit. And so as your stamina gets lower, and it does recharge, of course, you take more damage, which means that if you're too eccentric, if you're overextending yourself, you can get blasted. You can actually mean even like a random enemy will have a chance to kill you. And that's crazy to me. Like, it feels so good when you win because it shows you outplayed the other character. And I feel like this pacing of it, it feels so visceral. It makes it where those breaks between the combat feel like a relief. Like when I'm having a conversation or when I talk my way out of a fight, it feels satisfying because I'm like, okay, I need this gap. I need something between the bloody bashing so I can reflect on how gorgeous this game is, and also just for a second there, enjoy not getting in constant fights, especially because everything degrades. You have to wash your clothes. If you're covered in blood, some people won't talk to you or they won't trust you. If your gear breaks, you have to replace it. You have to repair it. If you're hungry, you have to eat. If you're tired, you have to rest. Every part of this makes it so that when you get in a fight, it has a cost. Killing somebody, you may have to bury them out in the woods. That's going to take energy. That's going to take strength. That's going to take food. There is a cost to everything that makes it that when you do something right, it feels so deeply rewarding. But okay, so let's talk about one other thing about this, because this is just a preview. I will have a main review up in February, but let's talk about the graphics, because wow, this game looks good. I mean, you can tell how good this looks. So all this gameplay here is recorded on a PlayStation 5 Pro, and for the most part, I haven't run into any glitches. I've run into like a couple times where lighting was a bit funky, or this guy here is kind of shimmering, which obviously doesn't make any sense, but for the most part, every part of this looks incredibly good, but I feel like the tiny details of this are insane. facial animations that perfectly display when somebody is offended or bored or about to be totally enraged and trying to attack you. There's like little tiny things, like at one point, Sir Hans took his armor off after a whole day of wearing it, and there were indentations on his skin. Like, this is the way you would actually look. The game looks great. The game plays great. I'm brain melted. This game is so hyper accurate that I don't think it's for everybody. It is the kind of game that you got to sit down, you have to absorb, you have to willingly make a bunch of mistakes. But when it clicks, when all the gears actually come together, it's truly something special. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts about the game so far. I am definitely going to keep playing it. I've got weeks left to play it. Hell yes. So I will have a big in-depth review up before launch coming up in February. But I love you guys very much. Thanks for watching this video. And if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And please keep dreaming. I legit died so many times. I'm glad I'm able to edit out all my deaths because, man, I died some truly bad deaths. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.